back everyone with some more Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, and we are continuing on in the trial in the case against Athena Sykes, which last episode we were successfully able to acquit Simon Blackwell of murder 7 years ago, and we were about to get a not guilty verdict for Athena as well, but all of a sudden Apollo comes in for whatever reason and objects to it, and now we're going to be listening to him most likely. But before we do that, hope you guys have an awesome day today. Hope you guys are doing well. So without further ado, looks like we are going to be cross-examining Apollo. I want to find out what the hell is going on with him all of a sudden. December 20th, District Court, Courtroom number 4. Mr. Justice, please explain yourself. It's very simple. There isn't much to explain. The defendant, Miss Athena Sykes, might not be innocent. What are you talking about? The case from 7 years ago has been settled. I'm not talking about the past here. I'm talking about the present case. It's still not clear who killed Clay Terran. But, Apollo, why would you... Miss Sykes, please listen quietly what I have to say. Now we're Miss Sykes now, we're not even Athena now. What in the world is Apollo trying to do? Your Honor, please allow me a little of the court's time. But... this is the trial for the case from 7 years ago. Miss Blackwell, I'd like to ask a favor of you. Just as you lost someone close to you, I lost someone close to me, too. I'm sure you want to know the real truth of what happened as much as I do. Apollo. Sure, you know I'm all for the truth. Now let's see you expose the princess's guilt. Judge, I give my permission. Continue with the trial. But very well. Is that alright with you, Prosecutor Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections. Let's hear Mr. Justice's testimony. I'll have the police's investigation report brought immediately. Not you too, Edgeworth. Really hope it's because you have something up your sleeve. Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. As you wish. Let's review the case of the murder of Mr. Clay Terran. It was made clear in the previous trial that Solomon Starbuck was not his killer. Therefore, the true culprit was someone else. On that day, this culprit waited for the astronauts in Boarding Lounge 1. When the two men made their escape out of the Space Museum, the killer attacked Mr. Terran with the same type of knife that was used 7 years ago. The murderer then escaped into the Space Museum. Next, Director Yuri Cosmo switched the launch pads. After that, the culprit exited the Space Museum and escaped via Boarding Lounge 2. Therefore, this trial must make clear who Mr. Terran's true killer was. In other words, we must discover who it was that escaped through the Space Museum that day. Thank you, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Mr. Wright, is the defense ready? Yes, Your Honor. I'd better rearrange my evidence. Relevant evidence swapped into the court record. Now then, Mr. Justice, your testimony if you please. Witness testimony. Apollo Justice's accusation. I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Terran. My growing suspicions were confirmed when this incriminating evidence presented itself. In addition, she's the only one who could have utilized the launch pad switch to escape. That is why I wish to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder. Order. Order on the court. Mr. Justice, you realize you're charging your own co-worker of murder, don't you? Yes, Your Honor, because that is the conclusion my investigation has led me to. But, Apollo, why? How could you suspect me, too? Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. I don't get it. Just what did you find out over the past few days to make you think this? Cross-examination. Apollo Justice's accusation. I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of the Clay... I suspected Miss Sykes of the murder of Clay Terran. What first made you suspicious of Miss Sykes? It all started when Miss Sykes and I were investigating the crime scene. When she saw the weapon that killed Mr. Tarrant, my bracelet reacted. She said she'd never seen the knife before, but my bracelet told me otherwise. And then, every time after that, my bracelet would react when she talked about the case. Poor Apollo must have been beside himself during the investigation. I didn't know what to do or think. I couldn't even sleep. In that condition, I knew I wouldn't be any good in court, so I decided to wear an eye patch so I wouldn't be able to perceive any of her tells. So that's why Apollo was acting so strangely. But the reason Miss Sykes unconsciously reacted to the knife that way is because she stabbed her mother's murderer with one identical to it 7 years ago. Objection! But that knife was also the murder weapon that was used to kill Clay Tarrant. My bracelet could have also reacted to her because she knew she was his killer too. I guess he has a point. But my bracelet wasn't the only reason I became suspicious of her. My growing suspicions were confirmed when this incriminating evidence presented itself. Hold it! That's a lighter that was found in the Space Museum with her fingerprints on it, right? But even if it seems decisive, there must be other facts we don't know about it yet. If that's so, go ahead and prove it then. Look, honestly, I don't want to believe it's true either, but Miss Sykes was the only one who was in the Space Museum at the time of the murder. But Mr. Justice, Miss Sykes says I had absolutely no motive to kill Mr. Tarrant. 7 years ago, Miss Sykes lived at the Cosmos Space Center. It wouldn't be strange if she had some kind of connection to him. Besides, people sometimes kill for motives we can't even imagine. I know you've seen plenty of cases like that in your own career, Mr. Wright. I still can't believe this. How can you actually suspect Athena, Apollo? In addition, she's the only one who could have utilized the launch pad switch to escape. Hold it! Isn't it possible that someone else used that same escape route? I'm afraid not, Mr. Wright. Why not? Recall there is a security camera in Boarding Lounge 1 aimed at the launch pad door. It's the camera that captured Mr. Tarrant and Mr. Starbuck. But there's also another security camera in Boarding Lounge 2. It recorded Mr. Tarrant's killer, or rather, Miss Sykes coming out of the Space Museum. A camera in Boarding Lounge 2? First I've heard of it, but it makes sense. Athena said she had snuck into the Space Museum the night before the incident, and then was overcome and passed out until around noon next day. I was out until about noon of the next day. I didn't even know about the explosions. When I woke up, nobody was around, so I just went out into Boarding Lounge 2. That must have been when the camera captured her, and that's what made Apollo suspect her even more. But wait a minute. In that case, it most likely recorded the true culprit as well. Objection! That's a negative on that one too, Mr. Wright. And the footage taken after the incident, Miss Sykes is the only one who appears. What? Why? Order. Order in the court. That can't be, but if it is, then it is incredibly incriminating. Wasn't it you who proved in the previous show that the way the true culprit escaped was via the Space Museum after pads had been switched? A fact you previously proved to turn on its ear, leaving your client high and dry. I must say, that is vintage Phoenix Wright. That is why I wish to indict Miss Sykes on the charge of murder. Hold it! Believing in your client to the end is a basic principle of good defense. Shouldn't you extend that same principle to your own co-worker? You're probably right. Maybe I'm not even fit to be a lawyer. However, I don't care. This case is special to me. Oh, Apollo, I just lost a whole bunch of respect for you, dude. Clay was my friend, and that is why I have to know the truth. Yeah, you're willing to throw your coworker under the bus on a suspicion because of you losing your friend. Apollo suspected his trusted coworker of killing his friend. To dispel his doubts, he investigated on his own, but that only led to more doubts. Apollo must have really been struggling with this. Well, Apollo may have doubts, but... I'll say it again. Athena Sykes isn't the murderer. Then I have only one thing to say. Evidence is everything in court. Well, Mr. Wright, think you have the concrete proof to knock down my arguments? Your arguments have been very clear, Mr. Justice. Yeah, I'm really not liking Apollo. This really put a bad taste in my mouth with Apollo now. And your facts appear to be indisputable. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you think of my theory? Well, personally, I think it's ass, but let's see what Phoenix has to say. Looks like not even you can deny it. Miss Sykes was the only one who used the only possible escape route. Under these circumstances, there can be no other suspect but the defendant. Unless you think there was an alternative escape route. Is that what you think, Mr. Wright? Is that what you think, Mr. Wright? Is that what you think, Phoenix? Was there an alternate escape route? Of course there was. Yes, of course there must have been. Just don't ask me what. You're just bluffing again, aren't you? Me? Bluff? No way! He knows me too well. It's fine, Mr. Wright. Even a bluff would suit me just fine. As long as you can clear up this doubt inside me. Oh, I really do not like you, Apollo. I don't. Wait, so is this what this is all about? I want to believe in Athena, I really do. But what is faith without doubt? That's why I need to question her guilt. So that once the truth finally comes out, I can really fully trust her. So that you can really trust me? Seems your junior partners just showed us what trials are truly all about. I believe you're right. We prosecutors painstakingly question every detail in pursuit of the defendant, while we lawyers believe in and defend our clients to the end. When both sides go all out against each other, that's when we discover the truth. Precisely, and when the battle is over, we will understand the true meaning of trust. That is exactly what trials are about, wouldn't you agree? Yes, I couldn't ignore the seed of doubt that was growing inside me, so I decided I needed to face it head on. No matter what the truth is that's waiting ahead, I won't be afraid. That's so like Apollo, always uber earnest about things like this. Mr. Justice, I vow to dispel every last bit of doubt in your heart. Good, because I want to believe in Miss Sykes again. You're really hoping there was an alternate route, aren't you, Apollo? But if I use the process of elimination, there really aren't that many possibilities. Director Cosmos is at the southern exit, leaving only the control room and the corridor to the Space Museum. Which door could the culprit have escaped through? Come on, Mr. A. Where do you think the culprit escaped to? Let's go ahead and save, just in case I make a mistake. Well, culprit escaped through here.
Take that!
They really only could have escaped to the corridor of the Space Museum. All they had to do was use the unconscious Mr. Starbucks Prince to get through the door.
Objection!
It appears that all you're trying to establish is Miss Sykes' guilt. If the culprit used that route, the only exit would have been into the boarding lounge too. The logical conclusion of your argument is that the killer is none other than the defendant. I knew it. That's the only way it could be, huh? If the culprit escaped into the corridor that leads to the Space Museum, then I guess it's true the only exit would have been into boarding lounge too. But Miss Sykes was the only person captured by the boarding lounge 2 security camera. I investigated the crime scene thoroughly. But the only place the culprit could have escaped to was the Space Museum corridor. There weren't any other secret corridors or anything. So that leaves us with no other conclusion to draw but that Athena Sykes was the culprit. What could the answer be? Was there really no other escape route? But, hold on a sec. What if... Where do those mysterious leaves we saw in the corridor come from? What if they occlude a culprit's real escape route? I think it is possible that the culprit escaped into the Space Museum, but then came out using a route other than into Boarding Lounge 2. Oh? Launchpad 1 in the Space Museum was switched after the bombing, meaning the Space Museum corridor was moving along the rail at the time, which is exactly when an alternate escape route opened up for a culprit. Are you kidding me? Humph. Judging by the intense look in your eyes, I take it you're serious. Very well then, Mr. A. Do tell. Where could the culprit have gone from the museum corridor besides Boarding Lounge 2? Okay, so it would be, I'm gonna say, here. We found something odd while investigating the museum corridor this afternoon. Namely, a few dead leaves on the floor. Considering where dead leaves come from, they point us to exactly where the culprit escaped to. Yes, I remember seeing some leaves myself. Ah! Do you mean... Yep. While the Space Museum was in motion, just beyond the corridor's safety door, was an alternative place that the culprit could use to escape. In other words, the culprit's real escape route was... the area outside the Space Center. You're freaking insane!
Objection!
Do you know how impossible that would be? That corridor is level with the 3rd floor. Even if the culprit tried to leap to the outside wall of the Space Center building, they would fall to their death.
Objection!
Ordinarily, yes. But after the bombing incident, the culprit could make use of a certain item. And what item was it exactly, Mr. Ray? Alright, this is what the culprit used to leap to the outside wall of the main building. Well, he used the... where is it? Emergency ladder.
Take that!
An emergency ladder? There was an emergency ladder in the 4th floor robotics lab, and it was used that day after the explosion to help evacuate people. Miss Blackwell herself used that ladder to escape down to ground level. Recall that the launch pads were switched after the ladder was lowered. The corridor would have passed by the ladder while the pads were being switched, and that's when the culprit literally sprang into action. And leapt onto the ladder. What? Who would have imagined? Order! Order in the court! Well, an alternative escape route seems to have emerged. Which means someone at Miss Sykes could have been the culprit, right?
Objection!
Making things up on the fly in an attempt to sway the court again, are we, Mr. Ray? Your theory has so many holes to put Swiss cheese to shame. Alright, then. Name one. I have here detailed information about the Space Center. According to this, the distance between the museum corridor and the main building during movement is... a full 20 feet. 20 feet? You're pulling my leg, right? In addition, the corridor is 3 floors from the ground, or roughly 50 feet. What's more, the culprit would be leaping to a precarious place. An unstable ladder. Human beings feel fear in dangerous situations. It's a basic survival instinct. An ordinary person would certainly hesitate before jumping. Or even freeze in fear and not jump at all.
Objection!
But the culprit had just murdered someone. They weren't in an ordinary state of mind.
Objection!
Nevertheless, why would they have taken that kind of risk? They could have waited for the switch to be completed and escaped the board. Yeah, they could have waited for the switch to be complete and escaped the boarding lounge too.
Objection!
Sorry about that. Because there was a security camera in boarding lounge too. The culprit knew they would be recorded at the Space Museum that way.
Objection!
In that case, the culprit could have hidden in the museum until things settled down. and then blended in with the other people after the museum was open. That's a good point. But you claim that, despite all this, the culprit took a 20-foot death-defying leap, and on a brief moment, and ladder passed by each other? That's also a good point. They would have needed a running start while the corridor was moving to make that jump. If their timing was off or if they couldn't jump far enough, it would have been an instant death. What kind of person would attempt something like that? Stop bringing up good points, Edgeworth. This true culprit of yours is nothing but a figment of your imagination. Why do you always have to point out every flaw? Mr. Edgeworth's right. That does sound pretty insane. The true culprit would have to be someone who feels no fear, like a stuntman. But everyone feels fear on some level, right? Wait a minute. Aha! I've got it this time. I can prove that there is someone who could have used this alternate escape route. Oh, can you now? This proves the possibility of a person who could have used this alternate escape route. Well, it's the Phantom Psych profile.
Take that!
What's that, Mr. Wright? This is a certain person's very interesting psych profile. The subject doesn't experience feelings like normal people do. In other words, this person doesn't feel happiness, sadness, or fear. Doesn't feel fear? What? Right. You can't be serious. Without the constraints of fear, he could easily do what an ordinary person wouldn't dare. Just as you or I could do a broad jump on the ground without the slightest fear, this subject could make a 20-foot leap, 50 feet up in the air. He could choose this extreme way of escaping without hesitation. So you're saying that to a person without fear, the alternative route would be quicker and eliminate the chance that they'd be spotted? That's definitely pretty extreme, Mr. Wright. But was there such a person there at the scene? Yes. The Phantom, that mysterious, shadowy figure who keeps popping up. Oh dear. The Phantom. Again? I knew the Phantom was there behind the scenes of the Space Center bombing, but I wasn't sure if he was connected to the murder of Clay Tyrant as well. However, now it's all clear. The Phantom is the one who not only bombed the Space Center, but also killed Mr. Tyrant. What? Order in the court. Order, I say. Mr. Wright, please continue. There were just too many similarities between this case and the one from 7 years ago. But why, you may ask? It can only be because both incidents were the work of the same Phantom. So then, this Phantom is the one who killed Clay? But who is he? This Phantom has been haunting this case, pulling the strings in the background. Who could this identified international spy be? Right, this escape route must have been part of the Phantom's plan from the start, as was tricking Director Cosmos into switching the launch pads. The bomb on the second floor was meant to make the elevators and stairs unstable. That's why he gave advance warning and planted the bombs where he did. Yes, I think you're right. But it doesn't explain this one last thing. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. But it was such a pain. Why couldn't they have used the ladders in the other rooms? I think I know who this is. The robotics lab wasn't the only room with an emergency ladder, but he couldn't have made that leap unless he was certain which one it would be. So you mean, the Phantom must be someone who knew that particular ladder was going to be used? That's right. Oh, I know who this is. Who could it be? Wait a minute. I know who this is. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. The Phantom, I believe, is Detective Fulbright. Miss Blackwell lowered the ladder after being told to by the detective leading the... Ah! Yep. You've got to be kidding me! Did you figure it out, right? Do you know who the Phantom is? Yes, I do. But who is it? Who killed Clay? Our mystery spy, known as the Phantom, is none other than... Bobby Fulbright. After the explosions, a member of the staff crossed paths with a certain detective. I was on duty on the 4th floor. It was quite the madhouse, I tell you. As for the detective who was leading the evacuation from the 4th floor, he had a very specific objective in mind. So I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. Oh, wow. His objective was to secure his own escape route. We lowered an emergency ladder from a 4th floor window and escaped that way. Once everyone else got out safely, I made my way down too, and he headed to the shelter. Wow! Wow, wow, wow. This is a detective you all know. He's even a lead detective on the current case. Wow. He appears to be a very emotional man, but his psych profile says he is without emotion.
Take that!
What? Are you saying? You mean the Phantom is the Detective Bobby Fulbright? Exactly. We were all taken in by his fake persona. Detective Fulbright's real identity is the Phantom. Wow! Order. Order in the court. Mr. Wright, how could this be? That's easy, Your Honor. Detective Fulbright was leading the 4th floor evacuation effort. Our first clue is that he made no attempt to have any other ladder put to use. The ladder in the robotics lab is the one he ordered to be lowered. The second is that he directed everybody to the basement shelter via this ladder. Verily, it was all part of his plan to create an escape route. After Detective Fulbright saw to it that the ladder was lowered from the robotics lab, he went to the lounge where he killed Clay Terra and escaped into the Space Museum. The museum started moving slowly, so he waited for the right time. Got a running start. And just as the corridor was passing the ladder, he leapt onto it. I don't believe it. That addle-pated detective did all that? Was it really him? I mean, all this time, I thought... Sorry we didn't catch your name. My name? I'm Bobby Fulbright. The heroic detective defends our good citizens from evil. The champion of justice that comes running whenever you're in need. And my catchphrase? It's injustice we trust. Then, his concern for Simon was also just one big act? I swore to reform Prosecutor Blackwell and make him a valued member of society again. So I can't just sit by and watch him give in to his emotions and tear the defendant apart. That monster killed Clay? He had me completely fooled. Come to think of it, he's the one who brought that bloodstained ladder to court, bloodstained lighter to court too. That scumbag even made me turn on Athena. Damn it, how the hell did I fall for all that? Let him have wormed his way into the police department as well. Your Honor, the defense demands to question Detective Bobby Fulbright. Yes, I agree, but we need to hear from him right away. The court will take a short recess and then Detective Fulbright will take the stand. Wow! Wow, wow, wow. But yeah, we're going to be entering the recess here, and this is exactly where we're going to be starting off the next episode. So, but yeah, we're going to be listening to Detective Bulbreak, aka The Phantom, in the next episode, but we are going to go ahead and save. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching this. Hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. I will see you guys again next time.